Hi, Amanda.
Hey, Tommy.
Are you excited about Star Wars?
Yes, I am.
It's our annual episode where you watch one Star Wars movie at a time that you've never seen before. And this is our second annual, so you're up to the second Star Wars.
I still don't understand how any of this works.
But we have our resident Star Wars expert, star of the Can We Geek About, which our lawyers are looking into why it's so closely named to Can We Talk About, Kyle. Hi, Kyle.
Hi, I'm Kyle.
Yeah, that's Kyle. What's great about that too is you could just put that on a soundboard.
Yeah,
and then
and
you
hit
don't have
it.
to show
Make it
up
a lot
and-
easier.
Yeah.
Please do. Please
Hi,
do.
I'm Kyle. Hi, I'm Kyle. Hi, I'm Kyle.
Because I'm like, oh, it's Star Wars Part 2, and I know that's going to annoy the hell out of Kyle. What is the Star Wars we're talking about today?
The Empire Strikes Back.
I don't understand is episode 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How is that the second movie if now it's episode 5?
Yeah, Kyle.
Because it started as 3, and then they made 3 before the 3, which created it 6. So 1 became 4, 2 became 5, 3 became 6, and then they added 3 at the end.
I mean,
But they all stayed the same. So there's a possibility they'll do 3 at the beginning again, and then 1 will be 7,
no.
2 will be 8, 3 will be 9.
No. How come they
No.
can just make
So-
their own numbers up?
Well, I don't know, money, money, and I don't wherewithal.
What
You know, you just start. You start with the I mean, I don't think he actually expected to make 9. So I think he went into it going, yeah, let's just make movies, and if it's good, it's good. And it was, and they're like, yeah, let's make more, but let's put them at the beginning. And yeah.
I don't know. I guess I did that with The Hobbit.
So Amanda, you did watch this movie, right? Just to confirm.
I was not in normal brain capacity. And I will say, though, that I get it. This movie, I watched it, even though I knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
All the way through. I still got it. I was like, okay, it's dope as hell. First of all, special effects, incredible.
Yeah.
For that time, this was released in 1980, which is bananas.
Yeah.
Second of all, the storyline's amazing.
Yeah.
But also, what I need to know for both of you as fans, how the hell do you remember all those characters? I know I felt the same way in Game of Thrones, but I was like, I know who Boba Fett is now just from watching the Boba Fett show. I know who these characters are and what they are just from watching other shows. But as the second movie, how the hell did anyone know who these people were?
Well, I think, but that was sort of and Kyle, I'll look to you, but I feel like that was sort of the allure to it in the first place, was the fact that they weren't major. They were just Boba Fett was just in the background. He was a small piece of the puzzle.
And he definitely was because he doesn't even say, do they say his name?
I don't
in the
know.
Empire. I think they do. Maybe
I
they
thought
didn't
they did.
originally. Because fun fact, the first time we hear Boba Fett's name said was in E.T.
What?
Fun fact of that, his physical name is said because the kid from E.T., which I don't know his name, but I do know, so that he has an action figure of Boba Fett.
Oh.
And he says Boba Fett's name for the first time in E.T.
Well, here's a fun fact I forgot to say before. It was the first fun fact I wrote down, that the film's original title was Star Wars II: The Empire Strikes Back.
That's an interesting
And
fact.
Lucas ultimately decided that he was going to drop the numbering in the title to emphasize that this movie was a unique installment of the Star Wars saga and could fall wherever.
Well, that was my question, because I actually don't know this. And I think I remember this from our last episode. When this first came out, I know Star Wars was retconned as A New Hope event. Eventually they just added that onto the title. But when this came out, was it Star Wars : The Empire Strikes Back, or just The Empire Strikes Back?
I don't know. I actually don't know.
Wow.
I kind of feel like it was Star Wars:
looking.
Empire Strikes Back. Oh, you are?
Yes. It was their highest grossing movie of the first three. 538 to 549 million at the box office. That's bananas.
Yeah. Well, because Star Wars blew up, and like when it came out, it became that thing that everyone was talking about. It's like the big follow up was, and that's the other thing too. That was there ever meant to be a sequel? Like, was it?
I believe so, from what I read, but also it came out as The Empire Strikes Back.
It did.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate that.
I mean,
so it just came back. That was how it started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So his typed draft was Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back.
Well, they didn't know it was
Lawrence
episode
Kasdan.
5 yet.
Yeah.
Writer Lawrence Kasdan refined the draft.
Well, that's the other thing too. Is
$60,000.
Remember, like the whole story from the first one, where it was like the first Star Wars was like sort of saved by Lucas's wife at the time or something. That's true, right? Like that's that whole synopsis.
I think so, because I watched Industrial Light and Sound.
Yeah.
It was like a documentary.
Yeah.
And that one had a lot of information about just like everything they did. And it is funny and wild how much like, you know, like especially with the graphic, because it was all about the special effects and everything.
Yeah.
I don't know how his wife saved it. I do believe there was something in there where it was just like she had something to do with
I want to say it was the editing,
like
right?
wrangling. Yeah, it's something the editing. I think like that. So yeah, I don't know the answer to that one.
Yeah. Wow, you're 0 for 2 now.
0 for 2.
Yeah. All right.
But
so
I
much
know
for being-
Boba Fett's name was first said, and
he knew that.
He
knew that one. What
I'm
a
gonna
winner!
just lean on that the whole episode. It's just
Yeah.
So, can I just ask another question?
Mm-hmm.
When they cast this movie, do you think that they realized that James Earl Jones, like, what was he super popular for before this?
Okay, I actually know this. Wait, I know this, and I'm watching as Kyle's face doesn't know this, but I do actually know this. So I watched something somewhere explaining this entire backstory, but basically, when they did the first movie, they had the regular actor who was doing it, right? The guy behind the mask.
David Prowse.
Yes, that guy. And when they went to the edit and after the fact, like it just wasn't working. It wasn't what Lucas had envisioned. And then James Earl Jones was just working on Broadway.
Oh, that's right. He's a super big theater guy, right?
Yeah, he was just doing Broadway. And I forget the whole story behind it, but basically like he got asked to like come do the lines and he recorded them in New York over the course of like a single day. And yeah, that was it. I don't even think he's
really
credited
cool.
in the first movie.
Because his filmography explodes after this.
Yeah.
He does this, and then he's in Conan the Barbarian, 1982, Madawan, 87, Coming to America, 88, Field of Dreams, 89, Hunt for Red October, 1990, The Sandlot, 93, The Lion King, 94, and he's reprised all of the roles for Coming to America 2, The Lion King series, and all the Star Wars media.
Mm-hmm.
The man's life was changed by just not even physically being the character.
Yeah, he was, but he was like apparently, and I can't fathom the world that was back in the 80s, but he was just a Broadway guy. And I don't know if they had Lucas or someone had like gone to a Broadway show or had seen him in something, but like he was a known entity there, just hadn't broken into film.
That's insane.
It's really cool too. That's just something I experienced personally now, where it's like there's so many people who are Broadway actors and theater actors that you don't even know about until they're on a TV show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this person's great. And then you tell somebody and they're like, oh, well, yeah, they've been on Broadway. They've been in like the most beloved Broadway star of the last 10 years. And you're like, oh, okay, well.
Hence Indina Menzel.
They're also good as a cop.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Or Elsa.
Cop. Yeah.
Well, speaking of, wasn't Josh Gad like one of those like Broadway? He was in Book of Mormon, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Him and Andrew Rannells. That's where they.
Yeah. Now look at them; they're all over the place. But what did you think of this movie? Because the first one sort of sets the scene. It's the first movie. Then you have to put into context too. Like the movie blows up, everyone loves it. They're all sent off to go make a sequel, and then you get this, which. You know, the original Star Wars came out in 77, which means they worked on it through like 1976, basically. and then it comes out, and then this doesn't come out for another 3 years. Like in between there, and this much I know is like, it was such a big deal that they were like just bringing the regular Star Wars back into theaters to replay because people couldn't get enough of it. And then there's a sequel 3 years later.
Well, you want to know what another fun fact was? People say that they weren't going to use the rolling scroll in the beginning of this because I kind of wanted to delineate this from the normal Star Wars story. That's why it wasn't numbered. And they weren't going to use the rolling scroll, but eventually they went back and they're like, okay, we have to put that in there because now look at it. It's like you don't watch Star Wars anything without that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need that.
Jeez.
Are those in The Mandalorian and the
You need
Boba
the
Fett
scroll.
in those shows, Kyle? In the beginning? I don't remember.
I don't remember. It might be at the beginning of the first episode of Mandalorian, but I definitely do not think it is every single episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely not every episode, and I don't know if it's the first episode of every season or anything, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if it is before the first actual episode. I don't even know if it's an Andor. It might just be
I did see that.
film specific.
I think they kept it for just the core series,
Movie.
Yeah.
if I remember correctly. And again, I'm not the Star Wars expert.
Well, I definitely think it was definitely in Rogue One.
Yeah.
And
Well, Rogue One
but
is
I
a
don't know
Star
about
Wars-
Solo.
Yeah. I mean, have you seen Solo?
I have seen Solo.
Okay.
What do you think about it?
Well, the ratings were so low.
My God.
Oh, no.
There it is, folks.
Yeah.
Can we geek
Here we
about?
are.
It's Kyle Bosch.
I thought Solo was definitely a film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
It
good
definitely-
observation.
It definitely had actors and
Yeah.
yeah. No, it's fun.
Okay.
We're not here
Okay.
to talk
Word for it.
about that. We'll talk about that later.
One thing I do want to talk about, not to get super nerdy and boring on this, but
Mhm.
it was badass that they let. It's only the second movie of the franchise. The franchise is killing it already. Like, I think George Lucas saw the fact that, like, okay, if we do this the right way, there is longevity in what we're doing right now. But they let Carrie Fisher they let her be the leader of the Rebel Alliance. They didn't be like, okay, this is doing really well. Let's just kind of push her to the back and let the dudes run the show, which is not normal for this time. Very rarely did you have a female heroine, and she was just like the badass the whole movie.
Yeah. And keep in mind, too, they also sort of shifted things a little bit, right? Because I think this is the movie where, like, you leave off the first movie and I mean, it's the whole trouble you get into when you start like retconning reality and like, you know, the stories behind things. But the relationship between Luke and Leia doesn't really
Okay.
like sort of shifts away in this one
I
too.
thought it was because I was so high. I was like, wait a second.
Yeah.
I'm like 92% sure
Mm-hmm.
that we ended this with Luke and Leia. And right, our last
Mhm.
episode, I was talking about how I was like, oh, they're going to do it.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, H. Ford's coming in here,
Mhm.
talk about Solo.
Yeah.
And I was like, did I miss something?
Oh, so you didn't know that Han and Leia get together?
No.
Okay. Well, that's wild.
Yeah.
That's
She's-
wild.
she's
that
a
you didn't
virgin.
know. Like that's a whole like you to have avoided that completely is pretty crazy.
Like, no idea. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah. No, 100%. Like that's it. I mean, one of the more famous lines of everything is
What?
Han Solo, like Leia saying "I love you" and him like "I know."
I didn't even.
Which I mean that
dick
escalated
move, but
quickly.
yeah.
That escalated quickly.
Yeah.
It's like I was very mean to you this whole but I love you. Hold on. Right before he's about to die too. So like when
Solo.
he doesn't, she's probably like, "Oh crap."
Yeah.
I mean,
Spoiler
what was she
alert.
done? But here's the thing, too. Like, spoiler alert. If you haven't seen this brand new movie from 1980
Yeah.
called
I meant
The
more
Star
so
Wars.
for Amanda.
Yeah. For
That
you.
spoiler alert,
It's-
Han
it's
doesn't
fine.
die.
You probably told me that they got together in the last episode, and I don't even remember it.
That's fine. Probably not. Probably just assumed everybody knew in the
You know what? You know what's funny, because I think it's this movie where this comes from. Is this the movie? I'm woefully unprepared, but this is the one where Luke confronts Vader, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
This
So
is the No, I Am Your Father movie.
yeah.
Yeah. Which is funny because what I was going to say is the entire like Luke, I am your father line is never actually said. And it's funny because it's one of those things where like it's been like parodied or said in other movies. And that's where people latch onto it. Like it's, it's like Chris
Tommy
Farley.
Boy.
Like, yeah, it's like from Tommy Boy, who's like, Luke, I am your father. And then everyone's like, oh, Luke, I am your father. Like, that's the line. It's like, no. That's what Chris Farley says in Tommy Boy.
You got to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm going with Chris Farley on this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
It's a better line.
Sorry, George Lucas.
Luke. Yeah. No, I am your father. Which, did you see that coming?
Well, I knew that part was coming.
How did you know that part was coming?
Well, Chris Farley told me.
Oh, okay.
Farley, yeah, exactly.
Hello.
Yeah. All right. So that line was long.
Yeah. But I knew that was coming. But still, I mean, as an 80s baby, I wasn't even born yet. But a lot of what they did was so far ahead of its time, even plot wise. Like you didn't have movies like this that were, in sequence, just dropping plot bomb after plot bomb. It's like you hit one and you're like, okay, there it is. We're done. We've all been working towards this one moment. We've peaked. Now we're done.
And not to spoil anything ahead, but this is the best movie of the original trilogy.
Yeah.
To throw that out there.
I think it's very much because first movie, like you said, it's very establishing. This is the story. So like almost like they made Star Wars as if this fails, at least we want it to be a movie that once it's over, it's fine if that's the only movie that exists. Like if I become broke and I can only make one movie, like Star Wars could just be its own movie and that's it. Like they have this thing, they blow up the Death Star and everything's fine. Everybody's celebrating. That's fine. Like that could have been, if nobody liked it, that would just be some cult favorite that we liked Star Wars. But now Empire Strikes Back. Okay, now I've got money. I can make all these movies. So like, it's like jump in and like start to elaborate, start to have, all right, we're going to do this. We're going to have, Luke's going to go onto the swamp planet and talk to a really ancient frog man.
But he's so cute.
Yeah. And it's just like, and not for nothing too, like to think about it, like the story of you're going to go to this place and talk to this old Jedi Master. Like, but he's a puppet. He's a little frog pup. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like
Frank Oz.
It's like one level here, one level there, where it's like, okay, now all of a sudden it could have just been some old man. You know what I mean? Like that was like the beginning, I think, of like not all Jedis are human. Like all these alien races, it's not like just Jedis are this. Here's 1,000-year-old, 800-year-old Yoda.
Yeah.
I mean, between Yoda being a puppet and Chewbacca being a 7-foot man, that's insane.
Peter Mayhew.
Yeah.
7'3".
Under the,
the fuck?
Well, but like, I have a question to ask here. Is because you have seen Yoda in other. Have you seen Yoda in other things, Amanda? Because I'm trying to know what like the other things you've seen.
He goes to the. Well, no, not yet, right, Kyle? He's not in any
the other movies.
No, I haven't seen any.
Well, anything she's seen because she's never seen the actual movie.
I've only seen the shows.
Yeah.
Is Yoda in any of them? No, just the little cute one. Grogu.
No, I think it's just the
child
prequel movies. The prequel movies, the only other.
Okay.
And the sequel.
Yeah, where I was going with that is like, it's like Yoda is a Muppet character in this movie though.
Yeah.
Like where he's like just like being weird and then they sort of change his character into this like simple, low talking, like Master Jedi. Yeah. Later. But I mean, he's still a Master Jedi here. It's just like here he's like this weird
earlier.
Yeah.
Like in the early, but I would say that there's a level of like, in the prequels where we see him as this kind of like more sage, old, like less weird.
Yeah.
By the end of the sequels, he goes into hiding on Dagobah.
Yeah.
And then
okay.
Presumably he's just there with swamp monsters for like 30 years.
You think he's just gone crazy?
I think he just went crazy. I think he just gone crazy, man.
And he has someone
all his friends are dead.
Which not to spoil anything for Amanda, so I'll talk in as much code as I can. But basically,
please do. I'm not going to remember.
similar to like what basically happens to, you can sort of, if you wanted to say the same thing happened to Luke.
Yeah. Yeah.
in the final trilogy, you can sort of say that too, because he is kind of, he's not Yoda crazy, but he's a little off. Like, I haven't seen humans in years.
But he has a reason for it, and his reason is disappointment in himself.
Yeah, he's just he's just
sad.
depressed. Yeah,
He's also sad.
Yeah.
Oh, stop.
Yeah.
Well, he's sad
friends banging the love of his life.
Yeah,
he decided
his sister
attempted murder. He thought about murdering someone, so that's why he's sad.
Yeah.
And I will say that it's a very fun movie, but it got so much crap for being too dark for mainstream movies, like because the darkness of the dark force. And this is the time during like satanic panics really happening in the early 80s. And they're like, oh, this is dark, evil force. So I'm sure that it got a lot of shit for that. But yeah, it wasn't received well by that portion of society because of the words and the use of the dark force. Yeah. I mean, come on.
What did you think of Cloud City and our new friend Lando Calrissian?
I know about Lando. I know about him from the other shows.
Yeah. But this is your introduction to him.
And I will say that those special effects were great. Like I said, all of this was so cool to see for that time. But I'm spoiled now, right? Because I did this backwards.
Yeah, I know.
So I've seen like the modern versions of all this stuff, and I was like, oh, it's nice to see where they started from. That's
what
cute.
What is Lando in the shows?
Well, no, your brother just told me the stories of everything.
Oh, yeah, like the characters.
Because I'm this annoying when we're watching it. I'm like, who's that guy? Why are they so sad?
Yeah.
Why is everyone clapping?
Yeah.
Where are they going? That looks fun. What's that machine called?
Why is the milk blue?
Yeah. I still don't know.
Oh man.
Yeah.
It's all an inside joke.
Well, we get to see the creatures that came from later.
Yeah.
Oh. If you go to Disney, don't they have the blue milk in the bars?
Yeah, you can. Not even in the bars, like on the side, like the sidewalk stands. You can.
Is it real milk?
It's no, it's not milk. It's like a smoothie basically.
You mean in the
park
in the Disney
in the parks?
Yeah.
Have either of you gone?
If it's not milk based, I haven't.
Should we go on like a Gotham West company?
Yeah, absolutely.
Excursion.
I'm not going to say no, but we have to go to Harry Potter World too.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Do both in one trip.
So the big battle in the movie, the battle in Hoth, that was super dangerous for everybody.
No.
They filmed it in Norway and the temperature was negative 16 degrees Celsius the entire time.
Oh, Jesus.
And it was like super dangerous and they could only be outside for a certain amount of time because the wind chill was so bad.
We got to make a movie though.
I mean, it works though.
It works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the
big
first
battle of
this is the beginning. This is Yeah.
That was badass.
But did you? I know how Amanda feels about animals. Did you feel bad for the fact that you use his lightsaber and use the warmth of a dead?
It wasn't great.
Beast and just slice into him and use it as a blanket.
I mean, I kind of when I watch things like this, I just have to go. It was a different time. But it made me, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
also, I think I was too distracted about what was happening around it. I was so enamored with how are they shooting that? Where are they shooting this? How are they making this? It feels like the 80s was a lot closer than it is because I don't think I want to admit that the 80s was as far away as it was.
Yeah.
To me, it's still 20 years.
Yeah, we don't have to say how long ago it was.
So fucking weird. But I really am so
exactly what it was.
Surprised with how well they did these effects and the way they shot this movie. It holds up.
Yeah.
But you know what it is too, and this is what was I had a whole conversation with Kyle and JJ from Can We Geek About?
It's true. Hi, I'm Kyle.
Kyle, who's sitting right here, about Zack Schneider. About Zack Schneider movies and
it's Snyder.
Schneider. I have a love-hate with Zack Schneider.
Yeah, like the pretzels.
Snyder. Sorry. I know everyone keeps sorry, Snyder, not Schneider. Schneider pretzels. But I have a love-hate, and part of that hate, the hate actually, to be specific, is more about I said, I was he loves flying debris. so like a Superman hits the ground and it's just like rocks everywhere, right? I just noticed it in like watching his filmography last night or whenever, but like I was like, oh my God, like I don't care about the slow-mo and some of that stuff and like even like the color grading. I was like, but the fact that like everything has to be like explosions and rocks flying everywhere, like to the point of like you look back at the 80s and a lot of the films, like it's simpler, and like where there is the special effects of things, it's a lot cleaner and simpler. Like I think at some point when there's explosions everywhere and like using
You tried so hard.
Zack Snyder as a as a example, like the bad guy in like the Justice League movie, like I couldn't even describe what the hell the guy looks like. I know he has like horns or something, but it's like it's so too much versus like just having someone like, even like Darth Vader would, he's got a few buttts on his chest. Otherwise it's like a black mask. It's like all
just he's just a walking podcast.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Pod.
Yeah.
This is my son, Mike.
But I think simpler can be better. And I think simpler is better. And so, when you're seeing like,
the
AT walkers, at walkers, what do you want to call them? Those giant walking things and the ships, like using the tow cables to like tie them up. Like it's simple. That's all we need. We don't need like shaky camera and like super effects and stuff. Like it gets the point across and it's fun to watch. And that's all that matters.
There's a grenade in and then jumps down and the whole thing, man.
Well,
what a hero.
The asteroid scene.
Yeah.
The asteroid field scene.
The asteroid belt.
Yeah, they used mini models for that.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason they did that is so they could control like how it looked more. And they thought it would achieve a more realistic and intense sequence. And like you said, it's so much simpler. Like it's not ridiculous.
I have a gripe with, and I swear to God, I might have already said this it's been a year. So I might have said this on the last podcast and I'm jumping ahead and I'm starting to get deja vu. So maybe I did already have this conversation, but whatever. Kyle, this is just for you because it's a movie Amanda hasn't seen yet. But I think what upsets me is when we look at the universe of Star Wars, right? A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, right? It's supposed to be somewhere in another universe that doesn't exist from here. And you see the world they build and it's from scratch, right? And so when you're building a world like that, it's like, everything is brand new. Nothing in our world exists in their world, essentially. And then you go forward to like, there's this one scene in the beginning of whichever one of the new movies they screwed up. I'll figure it out in 1 second. But as soon as I tell you it, you'll know what I'm talking about. Where they're doing like the little bombing run on the ship.
Yeah.
And
at the beginning,
I should probably know what the hell I'm talking about here.
Good Lord, is it? I think it's.
Which one is
the last
Jedi. That's episode 19.
Where it's all
the Force has awoken the
bomb balls, right? The big bomb balls, and they're trying to destroy the dreadnought, or not the dreadnought. Is it the dreadnought? Yeah. Rian Johnson.
Yeah, it was The Last Jedi, right? That was the one directed by
talk about it on
Rian
Can
Johnson.
We Geek About?
And
that's what our episode was.
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, I should go listen. Should go listen to that. Poe Dameron is like hails the ship and then he's like playing this like, I'm on hold, I'm holding for like as if he's like making a phone call. And I'm just like, but phones don't exist in this universe. Like this entire, like, it's just like the terminology. It would be like saying like, I sent a tweet about the Empire. Like, sorry, I know it's really simple, but it's a detail that bothered me where I'm like, they're not even staying within the universe. They're trying to be
there's
fun
levels
and
like
quirky,
they speak
but like
English.
not even like,
they are, they have the same kind of technology, like they are on a video call. I'm sure that there's a hold thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, I can see that humor. It's like Lord of the Rings having back on the menu, boys. Like, where what you have a menu? You're like a creature that lives in like mud. You have menus? Okay.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing that gets me is when they do stuff like that where they cross, like, I get it. They speak English. There's like some crossover, but it's like, it's when it gets like too close where it's like, okay, this like now it's not a Star Wars movie. It's just a movie. and I guess where I'm going back to with this is that, as I've said many, many times in this podcast, I appreciate world building, and like the world they built around Star Wars. It's its own unique thing. When you watch the movies, you're in the world of Star Wars. Don't remind me.
You didn't see the
of what's
COVID
going
episode?
on in the world over here.
whole
Like
Star Wars
don't
COVID
link it
episode. You
to
missed
things
it.
or
Star
it's
Wars
like,
COVID special.
It's a Grey's Anatomy crossover.
was it
yeah,
really?
yeah.
Hilarious visuals.
But anyway, sorry. It's a random rant I had to go on. And also, I totally get I've seen, or I vividly remember when, and don't ask me why, when like Grey's Anatomy was like, yeah, so we're doing, this is like COVID exists and the whole show is in a hospital. And then like for 3 episodes, they would try to like keep masks on and you can't see people's mouths moving, but like it's mic perfect as if they dubbed themselves over. And at some point, someone's
Yeah,
like,
then
this
they
is
got
too
PPE
weird. I
with
can't watch
microphones
this.
in
And they're
them.
like, all right, fuck the
It's
mask.
hilarious.
They're off
Yeah.
now. So
Yeah,
yeah.
because they didn't have
They had to
access to
they all wear face shields that no one
But
was actually using.
one thing that
in
I
real
like
life.
about this movie is this was something I actually knew before watching this,
Mhm.
is that George Lucas, the AT-AT walkers,
Mhm.
the way that
Yeah.
they walk is because that's the way his Alaskan Malamute used to
Mhm.
walk. So he wanted to create
Oh,
like,
okay.
a character that
That's very
mimicked the way
cool.
his dog walked.
What?
That's it. That's all I got out of the movie.
Yeah, no.
All right.
Well, you know, they're
Yeah,
part
the-
husky.
A
And they
weird
have hip
walking
problems,
dog.
Tom. They have hip dysplasia. They are prone to it.
So like they kind of walk with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
that's
Well,
really
that
cool.
made me feel bad.
I did not know that. I would have guessed that it was
Mhm.
after a dog
Oh, sure, Kyle. I bet
'Cause
you would
it's
have.
like-
Oh, look at me. Can't
I
we
mean,
geek
just-
about?
because it's got four legs and everybody loves dogs.
All right, yeah.
Who doesn't love dogs?
Yeah, who doesn't? Pipe up.
Did you know that Han and Chewbacca's ship was modeled after a bird?
What bird?
A falcon.
Well, that's embarrassing.
That's not real. I
Oh,
just made
you
that up.
son
I'm sorry.
of a
I wasted your
bitch.
time.
You son of a bitch. So
You're
for you
making
guys,
stuff
where does
up.
this rank in
Jesus.
like favorites?
I think number 1.
Really?
I think it's the top one. Yeah. I just think
I can totally see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
yeah.
all downhill from here.
Peaks.
It's not that. I just think it's the best of a lot of good things, in my opinion. It's for me. It's like it has, like I said too. It takes that first movie was we've established this, and this one goes okay. Now let's do everything. Let's make it bigger. Let's make everything. We've got, and it's like stuff you've never seen. Like all these bounty hunters. This visual of that. The asteroid scene. You're flying through the asteroids to lose the Empire. Landing in a hole in one, and there's a giant worm you're in now.
So
Just
gross.
barely escape it because you're in there, and the little I forget what the morays, lampreys are sucking on the ship. So you gotta fly away from them, and then you'll just like you lose the Empire by pretending you're garbage. By like landing on their big ship and they can't detect you, and then it's
We were
just like
talking about how
stretching
good this was.
everything. You know what I mean? What?
So we were just talking about how good this was, and then you've got your description: sucking on the ship and
Yeah, it's sucking on the ship. They cut the creature open to keep him alive,
So
throw him
disgusting.
inside, and it opens up, and it's like shrimp cocktail in there. It looks like bloop. It looks like but then
Nope,
just everything
you're
else.
muted.
Like you go to Dagobah, and then you come back. You get Cloud City, and just freezing somebody in carbonite. It
That
was
was
just
so
such like a
freakish.
creative run of everything. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Just like
It's cool though,
weird,
right?
like just so many aspects of it. Where I feel like the first one wasn't as much of this like crazy ideas of like literally everything.
Yeah.
Do you
I
guys
think this
remember
had
when you
just
watched
expanded it so much.
first time watching?
I couldn't remember. I just
I don't remember either, but I was a
you
late
knew all the
bloomer when it
secrets
came to
already?
all the Star Wars stuff in general. No, I don't know if I knew all the secrets, but I will say to Kyle's point though, what I think what's great about this, like, especially when you get into like the prequels and that stuff, right? Like the movies they start being blockbuster studio extravaganzas. Whereas even though like there's like, there's action and there's special effects and things, like regardless of all that, it's still like, it's a slow burn.
Yeah.
Like you need the foreplay before you go at it. And in this movie, I know Amanda like that, but like you need that, right? And like all these like little scenes, like the tension building of like, oh, they're gonna get caught. They're over in Cloud City, and like Vader's looking for them. And where is Han gonna come, or Luke gonna come save the day, or like what's gonna happen, and all this other stuff, like all building to something. And then you get the release of these like tension scenes and like Luke coming up against Vader and all this other stuff. It's great. It's a nice slow burn. It's not, it's a, what?
It is.
124 minutes.
I'll say I can give you exact runtime.
Bazoosh.
So what? That's like almost 2
yeah.
hours, right? Well, 2 hours is 120 minutes. We're bad at math here. So it's a little more than 2 hours. And I think it's good because like, yeah, it like slowly builds up and it gives you some like, and then it leaves off on a cliffhanger at the end. But like you watch like Guardians of the Galaxy, which Kyle, I know you guys are doing on your podcast. Like it's good movie, but it's like still like, especially like the sequels, like it's just 2 hours of just, it's like listening to like hard rock music at full volume for 2 hours. Versus something like this where like
so beautiful. It won all the awards.
And then like John Williams' score in the background. It's an opera.
Space opera.
Like, yeah.
It is very much a big
to
do. I would say like I kind of feel like Guardians of the Galaxy has a similar vibe to it, just like structure wise, because you come out, the first movie is just kind of like they're not going to stop and explain this, but like these characters got together. This is why. Here's the mission. We did it. Yeah. Great. Okay. Same kind of idea. If that was the last movie that they did for that's okay. That stands by itself.
Yeah.
We have the opportunity to do more. We're going to do more. I don't think Guardians did as much as far as like expanding this way, as far as like more like just a little bit out. But but definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I guess my point was like, you have these scenes in here where like, when they're think they're hiding in an asteroid, they're hiding in like the belly of a weird worm, Leia's losing her crap on Han and just giving him shit, and like, there's some isolation and like not lonely. Like I get they're quietly hiding on a ship, on an asteroid, right? It's small. Like it feels isolated and tiny, and it's not on a big giant spaceship with like lasers and you know what I mean. Like there's these moments where there's like character development or tension, like even the Cloud City stuff where they're like just wandering the hallways and like like jumping into like running down the hallway before Vader's over here and like all this other stuff. Like it's done in a way where it's, I don't know, more grounded than a lot of the kind of space adventures and stuff you see now. And maybe Guardians is a bad example because I think they do toe the line a little bit on like it's
Spaceballs.
Not over the top. It's not egregious like a lot like the aforementioned Zack Snyder. Yeah, even Spaceballs I think went too far. Yeah, Spaceballs is good,
well,
but like even that's like
a
little
bit interesting because Lee Brackett, who wrote the screenplay for the first one, again George Lucas hired her to write the second. Well, she died in 1978 before she could finish it. So he rewrote the story.
Oh, geez.
And then eventually hired Lawrence Kasdan, who went on to write. He wrote Raiders of the Lost Ark, but it's like three different bodies. Eventually flesh this out, which maybe has to do with some of the success because it was like three different minds getting it perfect.
Yeah. No. Collaboration.
Stop. Yeah. Collaborate. And the other fun fact of this movie that I kind of love is, did you guys know that most of the cast, except for James Earl Jones, George Lucas, and there's one other cast member, knew about the Darth Vader twist?
Oh, they did?
Yeah. So only a few people knew, and they kept it that way
really?
because they wanted like actual reactions from people. So our boy Luke had no idea, the actor.
Yeah.
Mark Hamill didn't know.
Oh, wow.
And this was like not an easy one to do because I don't think we can say anything bad about this. This is literally in the Library of Congress as one of the best films ever made.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's won every single fucking award.
Uh-huh.
It's like bananas how many awards it's won. And posthumously too. Like this movie's been done and it's still winning awards.
Yeah. It's very much just, I think, hits everything you want out of a movie. You know, you have your silent hero training.
Yeah.
You have your, the tension and the love story and non-related love story, you know what I mean? Which we don't know yet, but we do. Just like, it's a roller coaster, but like not a violent one. It's just, it does everything right. And it does it in a way that feels comfortable. And like you said, a little quiet moments like that, like a lot of them are, like you're not distracted by anything else while this is happening. And it's not like right in your face. It's more like, here, come, hang out, let's talk.
Yeah.
Well, obviously we know about this a lot now, especially because of all the Marvel movies. But with all the drama that happened when Lee Brackett died, and then he had to pick up, she was working off his outline, so he had to pick it back up. And there's a big controversy, which I'm sure you guys know more than I do, is that he, last minute intended or figured out he wanted Luke to find out that Darth Vader was his father in this movie. And he said he always intended that, but, omitted it from the scripts. His handwritten version has that, but all the scripts that he gave out did not have that because he was pretty nervous that this was going to leak. Somebody was going to share that, and he wanted it to be like the big reveal.
Oh, wow.
And now, like, he kind of started that trend because that's almost all Marvel movies, right? Like, it's
they
insane,
record a
the
lot
security.
of endings. Yeah. Everybody has different scripts and stuff like that.
And like the scripts
think
have to
they
be
said-
given back every
yeah.
day. And
Yeah.
it's wild. Do any other movies do that you know of?
Yeah.
I just know Marvel movies.
I forgot. I think like Game of Thrones near the end
Oh, you're
started
probably right.
doing that
Pretty much.
because it was so secretive and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or just like I've heard, I forget which movie, but one of them, like the scripts were given out like the day of, like right before you got out there.
Could you imagine that?
Yeah, that's got to be stressful.
It's like,
You're
I'll
also
just
making-
figure it out. You got this.
If I'm getting paid that to do that, you're getting paid to play.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we
And it's
talked
not
about
always
that.
great, but yeah, that's such a great opportunity. You know what I mean?
Well, I think what's crazy with this too is the fact that I can't. I'm trying to find out the answer right now as we're recording, but like I'm pretty sure from everything I'm reading that Return of the Jedi, the third,
I was just going to ask
wasn't
that.
green lit
Succeeded.
until
Yeah.
Empire Strikes Back was. Yeah. Because they were still skeptical. I mean, literally, like one of the biggest movies of all time was Star Wars, and the studio's like, I don't know. All right, well, maybe you can do a sequel. We'll give you. And I don't know if it's because of the budget, because of how much it costs. Because I do know there was like a note there too that had the original Star Wars failed, George Lucas still wanted to do it on his own, and he still wanted to do another sequel, and so he planned to do like a little low budget, little independent Star Wars sequel had it failed. But, it did well. So the studio's like, oh, no.
I also
buddy,
think
here
that
you
we
go.
can't talk about this without the success of Dune that just happened. And people are like,
Yeah.
Dune ripped off Star Wars. For the record, George Lucas has gone on record, and so has Ivan, I forget his name, the director, Ivan something or other. Ivan Kershev, I think his name is.
Yeah, Ivan Kirshner.
They've gone on record to say that they drew inspiration from Dune.
Yeah.
A lot of the world building, just the worm alone. Yeah. But there was also in the 60s, there was a Dune
the
movie.
novels. The novels.
Yeah.
It was either a movie
Yeah,
or a
yeah,
TV show that was pretty
Yeah.
rudimentary
Yeah.
in
Al McLaughlin.
Yeah, it was pretty rudimentary in their sci-fi abilities there, but kind of ahead of its time there.
Well, do you know who made that original Dune movie?
Oh no, I don't.
The 80s movie.
That's
oh.
right. Yeah.
Oh yes, actually,
David
It's
Lynch.
84.
Yeah.
I should have known that because that's every year
Yeah.
Dune movie has come out.
Which is crazy
Since
because it's this crazy
1984.
David Lynch.
His Ghostbusters movie has also come out.
What?
Well, because Dune came out in 1984.
Really?
That was Ghostbusters.
What?
And then Dune Part 1 came out the same year as Ghostbusters Afterlife, the new one. And then the second part was with Frozen Empire.
Oh.
So
But yeah,
hopefully that trend continues.
yeah, you wish.
For Ghostbusters' sake, not for Dune's sake. Dune's doing fine.
Yeah, so when people kind of say like, it ripped this off, it's actually quite the opposite. The novels and the stories all existed, and when George Lucas wrote this, he tapped into the world of Dune.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't it like it was like a swashbuckler kind of like
Yeah.
that was the whole intention of the first Star Wars, right? It's supposed to be like,
Laser
"Arr,
swords."
pirates at sea, but in space.
He is a lazy sword.
Yeah. Laser swords. Yeah. And I have an appreciation for that, of the fact that like Lucas made the first one as like an homage to like pirate movies, and like, the sword play and everything was in there because he wanted to, he was inspired, or whatever you want to call it, from those other movies. So yeah. And it goes to say that like, yeah, it makes sense that,
Yeah.
also the Star Wars movie would inspire other movies,
For
which
sure.
like clearly did with other things that have
Like I said at
come
the
out
beginning,
since.
but this makes sense to me. Like watching this, having seen this, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I get the obsession now. I could see it after the first one. Like, okay, yeah, this was way ahead of its time. Very different from what's happening. When did Star Trek come out though? The OG. Yeah.
Well, are you talking
Okay, so,
the series?
I mean, people
series
had
was the
already
60s.
had like an outlet.
Swings.
Like the sci-fi nerds kind of had an outlet, you know what I mean? So this is like a completely different generation of sci-fi nerds that were getting into this world.
Well,
By the way,
okay,
guys, Tom's
I'm gonna hop on this train now. So
Tom's a Trekkie.
right, but not an original series, not a TOS. I'm a next gen kid. Give me like I will fall asleep to the sound of like the Enterprise whirling engine sound any night of the week. You have to remember too, like this was its own thing, but like compare it to like Star Trek. Star Trek is more like, especially the original series, it was just, they were tackling
It's almost like procedural
episodic storyline.
Grey's Anatomy.
They had a
Predominantly
mission. They had to solve it, and then they were done.
And also keep in mind, that show only ran for 3 seasons,
insane.
right? For as impactful as it was to pop culture, it only ran for 3 seasons. And, it was a show that was like doing stuff in like the late 60s that was, a promiscuous, like, oh, wow. Like there's like, I want to say, I think the first biracial on-screen kiss
it's
in
debatable.
U.S. television was on
You'd
Star
have
Trek,
to
right?
say that Ricky Ricardo and Lucy, I love Lucy. You'd have to discount that. So it's heavily debated, but it's one of the first 2 for sure.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Fair.
As a trivia person, when you
fair.
do a trivia question like that, and then somebody comes to you angrily in your face because you're like, oh, well, I guess maybe you are
Jesus.
right. So that's why I'm just.
I think Kyle may have lived
I
this,
mean,
Tom. I'm getting that vibe.
Yes.
Ricky
And then-
Ricardo's
because
advocate.
because then you have to then as a white male, you were
Definition
put on the
of
spot to
biracial.
debate the legitimacy of
Yeah,
quote
that's
unquote
not your
interracial
world
kissing
to
between
comment.
who and who.
Cuban
like,
Americans don't count.
Let me look at this.
And
Let
that's
me
the
look
platform
at.
I'm running for president on.
But anyway, my whole point there is I want to actually say that I think later Star Trek, especially when you get into like the Star Trek movies, those were way more. And I'll say this very controversial thing. I think like the Star Trek movies, like Wrath of Khan and stuff, those are heavily inspired because those are nothing like the TV series. Those are its own things. Those are space adventures. And those are a lot more like the world that Star Wars created, where it's like there's a story and it's in space, but it's like there's drama and
I was more saying the nerds had something to put their teeth into. And so like the whole next generation of nerds, like I very famously remember watching an episode of that 70s show. And I don't remember if I talked about this on the last episode where Eric Foreman goes to see the movie for the first time and then goes to see the movie like 48 times and stops going to school because he's so obsessed with it. And like that for me was like, wow, this was fucking huge.
You know, you mentioning that 70s show in the 1 year since we've done the episode and you mentioned that line.
Was that the first time you thought about it?
No, it just, a lot has happened to the cast of that 70s show in the past 1 year since we've talked about that.
What is it? Tell me. Kyle, since you're running for president on that platform, would you like to chime in?
So in a totally bogus claim.
Yeah. Oh, no, cut him off.
No, it's so bad. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Everybody shit on poor Topher Grace for so long. Like,
yeah.
He's the only
like,
one
why won't he hang out with, he must be weird. He doesn't want to hang out with the rest of the cast. Meanwhile, the rest of the cast.
Reunions. Yeah.
I know. Ooh. He was probably sitting, he was like laughing at home, being like, yep, this is why. Now everyone knows. Poor Topher Grace.
Oh my God, literally everyone.
Grace, yeah.
Literally every single one. I just went through it in my head.
Yeah.
Kitty and Red are the last two standing.
Yeah.
That 80s show. That 90s show?
Well, that 90s show, they finally were like, the friends of the most deplorable person, most deplorable person on that cast, who were like writing letters to judges, were finally like, yeah, we're not going to come back for the new season of that 90s show now.
Yeah.
It's like, I wasn't sure you were invited. Okay, cool. That's thanks for making that proclamation. Guess you'll go back to, let me read this, advocating for victims. Okay, I don't know if that's true. I don't.
I mean, how we got there.
Ooh, sorry, back Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Well, I guess
Leia, Luke.
One other thing that I thought of when I was watching this is the whole storyline of the main plot, right? The main storyline. All of that takes so much writing for George Lucas. Like truly so much writing down to, every ounce of world building, like you were talking about.
Yeah.
All that background shit that he wrote that is so nuanced.
Mm-hmm.
Like the one mention of Boba Fett, the Lando, all Cloud City, all of that kind of stuff. It is so intense to write these tiny pieces of story to not know if your next movie is getting made.
Yeah.
Let me build this world that I may never get to share again. But just in case, let me just make every minute detail very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here's where I appreciate that is now in the world, you have there's a thing called a series Bible, which TV shows or movies will put together and lay out anytime someone's I want to say I watched Seinfeld and there's some people have pointed out in episode 3 of the first season, George mentions a sister and then she's never mentioned again. And then George doesn't have a sister. It was just, ignored.
The pilot was shot with kids.
Yeah.
And they just stopped existing.
Yeah.
And Larry David was they're like, where'd the kids go? And he's like, I don't care. I started writing the show. I don't want kids.
Oh, of Curb?
Yeah. He's like, nobody's ever going to ask where they are because I don't care. They're gone.
And so,
That's
but it's things like that, which I do have an appreciation. I think with George Lucas, a la, Luke and Leia kissing in the first movie it doesn't seem like I think he just threw things around without a lot of thought into it and threw things in there, which is great because then there's more ingredients to build on in future movies and to build the world around. But in my humble opinion, I think him including certain things in the world weren't necessarily meant to continue on and be a thing. It's just that Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, I'm sorry, not Obi-Wan Kenobi. The little what
Yoda.
the hell's his name? Yoda. Thank you. At least you knew what I'm talking about.
I don't know. I just took a stab.
My assumption would be that Yoda was meant to be just this little thing on the planet that existed there, and then that's it. And then Luke left, and that was it. That no more Master Yoda. But the fact that all the it's the toys, especially Mr.
Oh yeah.
The guy who happened to own all the merchandising rights, and that's how he made his fortune.
Yeah.
Is these kids love Yoda.
George.
Shove him in.
George Lucas owns it.
Yeah, he took did he take no wages for the first
he
something like that. And then Star Wars was really what kickstarted the toy rights.
Yeah.
thing.
Really?
Because it wasn't really like a lot of toys being made of movies and stuff like that. So they were like the ones that kicked it off, and he took 100% of the rights to the
God,
toys.
that's so smart.
And in exchange for like, pay me less.
Yeah.
I just want to make money off this. And then bam, nailed it.
The new Star Wars action
Nailed
figures.
it. Yeah.
He's still nailing it,
Which
even
is really
if he never
cool.
does it.
There's a museum, the Museum of the Moving Image in Queens here that has a ton of like the old Star Wars toys. Like there's a bunch of things from movies, obviously, but like that's one of the cooler things is this room of just like all these old toys, and a lot of them there's got to be like 80 Star Wars ones.
All I remember is Big Bird. Isn't the Big Bird costume there?
So there was a movie called Shadow of the Empire. Sorry, a video game, not a movie. Shadow of the Empire, a Star Wars video game that me and my brothers played, and you're like it was like a retcon kind of like. Here's a character that was there during the events of Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
But he was doing something else. So like, you know how like the Millennium Falcon takes off?
Yeah.
Like from Hoth
Mm-hmm.
And like then has to escape. So like there's a part in the game, this is Nintendo 64. You like get into this place in Hoth, in the Hoth base. You like run into this area and you see it taking off.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing like you're like Han's buddy.
Okay.
So you're more of a, you're a blaster guy, not a Jedi. But the most terrifying thing about it was the monster, the Wampa that took Luke, knocked him out, hung him upside down in like very, very advanced. This is a very intelligent animal, obviously. Like,
Clearly.
It's more like Bigfoot than anything, and it just froze him to the ceiling. Kudos to him. But like they're in the base in random areas, and you never really know. You open a door and there's a giant Wampa, and it's attacking you. It's terrifying. I just want to talk about that.
That's fair. Your brothers are going to listen to this and be like, yes, Kyle.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. You play as the character's name is Dash Rendar.
Well, that's a good name.
I feel like I talked about this last year's episode.
Maybe.
I feel like I talked
gotta be
about
honest
Dash
with you.
Rendar and the Shadow of the Empire.
Do you know what I remember from the last episode?
What?
I'll give you one guess.
Nothing.
The terrifying Chewbacca children
Oh,
of the Star Wars
yeah,
Christmas
yeah.
special.
Christmas
Yeah.
special. Can I just point out, I think I did listen to the Can We Geek About episode on Star Wars already. And I think you guys touched on the holiday special. I had to pull it up because I was like sort of curious at the timing. And again,
Like that George Lucas refuses to acknowledge that it exists.
yes, yeah.
That's what, yeah.
But Star Wars came out in 1977. And then the following year was like, again, they were putting it back in theaters because it was so like big.
Yeah.
And then they were like, they just shoehorned this Christmas special together with like a super overtanned Luke Skywalker.
It's terrifying.
They called in from Palm Beach, Florida to come do his.
Yeah.
But then I also looked this up too because I was like, oh, there's a big gap obviously between there's the couple years. I was like, oh, how long did they take to film this? They only started filming Empire Strikes Back in January of 1979. So the movie comes out in 1977. They even did like the Star Wars Christmas special back in 1978. They don't even like at the end. They did the Star Wars Christmas special comes out November 17th, my birthday in 1978. And then like turn that around 2 months later, they are on the set of the new movie. But there was essentially like a good 2 year gap, 2 to 3 year gap between, the movie coming out. And then, so you put it in that perspective, they like the whole cast hadn't worked on the movie since like 1976. And so, yeah, there's a bit of
That's a decent gap.
There's a 3 year gap between like being on the set of those movies.
And you're famous as shit now.
Yeah.
Like you're so famous.
Yeah.
Poor Carrie Fisher is walking around. People just have boners.
Excuse me, poor Carrie Fisher. And do you know about Carrie Fisher in the 70s?
My girl. I know she was hanging with Stevie Nicks. Say no more.
She was hanging out at Studio 54. She was like, and
as you should, man.
Yeah. She was hanging out with the SNL crew. Like, if I remember correctly, what's his name from Ghostbusters? Help me out, Kyle.
Bill Murray.
Nope.
Dan Aykroyd.
Yes. Dan Aykroyd like proposed to her. It was like told her she was in love with it. He was in love with her, and she was like, yeah, no. Like turned him down.
My girl.
So
Okay,
yeah.
well, I'm going to wrap this up for us, and I do want to just say, to me, I get why this is the best one.
Yeah.
But also, do I have to keep watching them? Because I know they just get shittier.
You have to at least finish the trilogy.
Finish the
even
original trilogy.
Yeah.
Right.
But I will say
This
this.
is the story that matters. These three are the story that matters. The rest is just extra fun stuff.
Yeah.
I do think that the prequels are they have their merits.
Oh, yeah.
The Revenge of the Sith is one of the most favorite. That I think Revenge of the Sith is the second.
What order is
of
that?
The prequels? That's the third one.
So that is like the 6th movie made.
Sixth
the
movie
third
made
in the storyline.
Third in the storyline.
Fuck yeah, I'm getting it.
So that one, that definitely. I think Phantom Menace is great to see Liam Neeson as a Jedi. I think that's worth the price of admission.
Okay.
And I think that Attack of the Clones is you see Wookiees, so fantastic, right? Or maybe that's Revenge of the Sith.
Got my own Wookiee to see.
But Revenge of the Sith is, it's one of the more favorited movies of the pre and seeds.
So you think that's second?
No. I think Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, Revenge of the Sith.
All right.
Oh, so you're full on just the original.
I jump around with all of them.
Yeah.
I kind of love all my children equally, I feel like.
Oh, what a good path.
Empire Strikes Back is definitely
your firstborn,
number one.
Most intelligent firstborn child.
Yeah. Because I kind of feel like, too, you got to go, you can't do like between 1 to 9, you can't, like 1 to 3, 4 to 6, and 7 to 9. Like there's 3 different beasts.
Yeah.
I
would say original trilogy, even though I have problems with it, sequel trilogy, and then prequel trilogy in that order.
Yeah, and based on everything, but it's like, because if you were to like pick out movies, it would be like, I like Hobbit Part 2 and Lord of the Rings Part 1. Like it's a story.
But I have a question for you. It's weird, right? Because like the aforementioned like Guardians of the Galaxy, that's a trilogy.
Yeah.
I don't think there's no movie in there where I'm like, oh my God, this movie just goes like takes a hard left turn. In my opinion, The Last Jedi takes such a hard left turn in like.
It definitely expands things. And I haven't watched
that's a way of
Rise of
it.
Skywalker, the final.
You haven't
movie.
Seen it?
No, I haven't watched it in a long time.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I feel like I only watched it once. So I do have to watch that one again to see kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah.
But like, I still defend The Last Jedi. I think it was I liked it. I think it was really good. I think there are parts of it that are obviously able to be scrutinized and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, like,
Casino Planet?
Still a movie, man. Yeah, Casino Planet. Why would there not be? Why would there not be rich people funding this war?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was my favorite part. The Casino Planet was probably my favorite part of it. I'll never stop talking about, like, the whole fact that they're like, it's called Star Wars, and it is good people, the Empire versus the rebels the whole time, no matter what you want to call them in any of them. But there's a clear bad and a clear good.
Yeah.
And this is the only movie that touched on the fact that there are rich people that live out here in these planets and these areas that are funding this war and getting rich off both sides.
Yeah.
So it's very much like, not for nothing.
Freakishly
like you said
close
before,
to the world?
real,
Yeah.
But like, to ignore the fact that would actually happen, like that's a very mature and interesting thing to throw in there.
Well,
that's my last. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'll let you have it. Cause I was going to say, I will sit here and debate you for an hour over,
that'll be next year.
Yeah. I'll put you on trial.
Can I be the referee?
Jedi.
This will be
referee.
We're going to do a Patreon of me and you arguing about
I'm going to be the moderator.
Okay.
I love
Just
to start
spoil a
shit.
lot.
That sounds so fun.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So
I'll be
glad you got
intoxicated.
I'm glad you got to see another Star Wars.
Me too. I'm sad that I didn't watch it with Henry. I wish I would have, because I think he would have enjoyed watching my reaction to things.
Well, if you watch it with someone who's seen it before, like
they're
like
just
a
watching me
significant
watch
other,
it.
and on top of that, he's gonna be like, look, like I do this with my son, where I'm like, he's checking his phone, or like, oh, I'm gonna go get a drink, and I'm like, no, like this scene right here, you gotta come back,
you gotta be here.
Yeah. No.
Yeah,
Pay
I do the
this,
same
this
thing.
is a good scene. This is a good scene.
Yeah, he would have done that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's the thing is especially it annoys the hell out of me with I'm watching something with my son. I'm like, oh, he's going to love this. And then it gets to a scene and then he's like, I'm going to go get a drink of water. And I'm like, no, don't get up now. This is the most important part. You find out.
Lando betrays them all.
He's like, no, I am your father. And he's like, what did he say? I'm like, God, you missed it. No, rewind it now. Rewind.
I'm in for the ride, I guess.
Yeah.
I'll at least finish the trilogy, and I've already watched all the shows, so I feel like I was already in.
You have a year to finish the trilogy.
Yep.
So
well, I watched this 4 days before we've recorded.
Yeah.
So.
Wait, can I make it? I'm going to make another suggestion to you.
Yes.
And I don't know if Kyle, you've seen it, but I think they're worth it, and I think they're actually a lot of fun, especially if you've freshly seen it. Go watch the Family Guy parodies. They did each of the movies.
Okay.
They did the first one, which is called like Blue Harvest or what I forget what it's called.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't know the names.
But Star Wars, Family Guy. Blue Harvest is the first one. I will say it's even funnier because to the point of the third movie, when they start the episode, the way Family Guy covers it is they do it in there's a blackout. So the dad's going to tell a story. Peter is going to tell a story.
Peter Griffin. And
they do that for the first two movies. And then in the third movie, the lights go out and they're like, oh, are we really doing this? He's like, yeah, we got we're doing Return of the Jedi. Just deal with it. We have to do this one because it's like in the sequel in the trilogy, it's like the Empire Strikes Back is not only one of the best movies of all times, one of the best sequels of all times. And then you get to the Return of the Jedi where it's like, ugh, it's not a terrible movie, but it's a letdown from where it came from because you're expecting it to build and build and build, but it essentially does the whole Godfather Part 3 thing where
Plateaus.
it's just like, this fell off.
Okay.
Kyle disagrees. I can see Kyle's face. You just.
I was like, are you kidding me? It's a cinematic masterpiece.
Yeah. All right. Anyway. All right.
All right, guys. Well, that is year 2 of May the 4th. Amanda knows nothing about Star Wars. Whole lot of fucking nothing.
It's exciting to watch you watch these for the first time.
I was excited to talk about
May
this.
4th.
Yeah.
May 4th, and this is going to come out a little bit after May 4th, no?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we May 4th, and may you have 4th.
we forced it.
We forced the 4thing. We've all 4thed each other, and here we are.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.